The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, fragments glittering under the chandelier light like scattered diamonds. Silence fell across the crowded anniversary party as all eyes turned toward Eliza Blackwood, who stood frozen at the top of the curved staircase, staring down at her husband of 15 years. Marcus wasn't looking back at her. His attention was fixed on Vanessa Chen, his hand still lingering on the small of her back where Eliza had caught it seconds ago. 15 years, Eliza whispered, though in the silence, everyone heard. 15 years, and this is how I find out? Marcus finally looked up, his face drained of color. Eliza, this isn't— Don't, she cut him off, her voice eerily calm despite the trembling in her hands. Don't you dare say this isn't what it looks like. Vanessa stepped away from Marcus, her perfectly manicured fingers nervously adjusting her crimson dress. The same dress Eliza had complimented her on when she'd arrived, before she realized why her husband's colleague had chosen something so striking for their anniversary celebration. Everyone, please enjoy the rest of your evening, Eliza announced to the stunned crowd, her socialite training kicking in despite the hurricane raging inside her. The night's still young. There's plenty more champagne. She descended the stairs with deliberate steps, each one echoing through the grand entrance hall of the home they'd built together. As she passed Marcus, she paused, leaning close enough that only he could hear her next words. I've spent 15 years making our life perfect, she whispered. I'll spend the next 15 days making you regret throwing it away. 3 months earlier. You're working late again? Eliza tucked her phone between her ear and shoulder as she arranged the fresh peonies in the crystal vase, Marcus's favorite flowers. The Westridge account is massive. Liz, Marcus replied, the sounds of his office bustling in the background. This could put us in position for the partnership. Eliza sighed, glancing around their immaculate dining room. The table was set for 2, candles already lit, Marcus's favorite bourbon poured and waiting. It's our anniversary month. I thought we could at least have dinner together on a weeknight. I know, I'm sorry. Vanessa and I are finalizing the presentation for tomorrow. We can celebrate this weekend, I promise. Vanessa. Again. The new financial analyst who joined Marcus's team 6 months ago. Eliza had met her at the company Christmas party. Brilliant, elegant, and 10 years younger than Eliza's 39 years. Is she becoming indispensable to you? The question came out sharper than Eliza intended. She's good at her job, Liz. Marcus's voice carried a defensive edge. Look, I've got to go. We'll talk tonight. But he didn't come home until after midnight, and by then, Eliza had blown out the candles and poured his untouched bourbon down the sink. You're being paranoid, said Diana, Eliza's oldest friend, as they jogged along the lakefront path the following weekend. Marcus worships the ground you walk on. Eliza wiped sweat from her brow. He's been distant for months, distracted, and he's never been this dedicated to work before. He's aiming for partner. It's stressful. It's more than that. Eliza slowed her pace, catching her breath. Last night I asked about his day, and he mentioned Vanessa taking him to this new sushi place for lunch, the one I've been asking him to try for months. The way his eyes lit up when he talked about it. Diana stopped, turning to face her friend. Have you asked him directly? And sound like the stereotypical jealous wife? No, Eliza shook her head. We built everything together, Di. Our company, our home, our reputation in this city. We were going to start trying for a baby this year. Diana squeezed her shoulder. Then fight for it, Liz. Don't just wonder and worry. Find out the truth. The truth began to reveal itself in small ways. A credit card charge at a hotel downtown on a night Marcus claimed to be working late. Text notifications he quickly dismissed when Eliza was nearby. The faint scent of an unfamiliar perfume on his collar. Eliza started keeping track in a small black notebook. Dates, times, inconsistencies in his stories. The businesswoman in her approached the situation methodically, gathering evidence before making accusations. The wife in her hoped desperately she was wrong. She wasn't. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Eliza decided to surprise Marcus for lunch. She'd barely been to his office in months, consumed with running their interior design business that she'd built from the ground up, while supporting his rise through the financial firm. As she approached his office, his assistant's eyes widened in surprise. "Mrs. Blackwood, I didn't know you were coming in today." "I thought I'd surprise him," Eliza smiled, holding up the bag from Marcus's favorite deli. "Oh, he's—" The assistant hesitated. "He's in a meeting, but it should be wrapping up soon. You can wait in his office if you'd like." Eliza thanked her and stepped into the corner office with its sweeping views of the city skyline, a view she'd helped him select when the firm moved buildings 3 years ago. She set the lunch on his desk and was about to sit when she noticed the framed photo that usually occupied the corner of his desk was missing. The one of them in Positano on their 10th anniversary. Curious, she opened his top drawer. The photo was there, face down. Next to it lay a small velvet box, the kind that typically held jewelry. Her birthday wasn't for months, and their anniversary was weeks away. She shouldn't look. She knew that, but the weight of suspicion had been crushing her for too long. The box contained a delicate platinum bracelet with a small diamond charm. Attached was a note card with flowing script, "To new beginnings." Eliza's hands trembled as she replaced everything exactly as she'd found it. When she heard voices approaching, one of them unmistakably Marcus's, the other a woman's soft laughter, she slipped out through the side door, leaving the lunch forgotten on his desk. The evidence continued mounting. Late-night calls he took in the bathroom with the shower running. A weekend conference that, when Eliza called the hotel, had no record of his reservation. The gradual emotional distance that had crept between them like a slow-growing vine, strangling what had once been a passionate, connected marriage. Yet Marcus still came home to her, still kissed her goodnight, still made plans for their future. It was as if he wanted both lives, unwilling to relinquish either. "I'm throwing us an anniversary party," Eliza announced one morning, 3 weeks before their 15th anniversary. "Something spectacular. I've already booked the catering and sent out invitations." Marcus looked up from his phone, surprise evident on his face. "A party? You hate big parties. 15 years deserves a celebration, don't you think?" She smiled, watching him carefully. "I've invited everyone from your firm, too, including your team." Something flickered across Marcus's features. Concern, perhaps even panic. "Liz, we don't need to make a big deal of this." "Nonsense. I want everyone to see what we've built together." She leaned over and kissed his cheek. "It's important to me." What she didn't tell him was that the party wasn't a celebration. It was a test, and possibly the setting for something else entirely. The weeks before the anniversary party passed in a blur of preparations. Eliza threw herself into creating the perfect event, selecting every detail with meticulous care. The catering, the flowers, the music, everything had to be flawless. "You're going overboard," Diana observed, watching Eliza instruct the staff on the exact placement of each crystal glass. "This feels less like a celebration and more like a funeral?" Eliza supplied, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Maybe it is." The night of the party arrived and their modernist glass home filled with Chicago's elite. Marcus's colleagues, their mutual friends, even a few carefully selected clients. Eliza wore a midnight blue gown that accentuated her still youthful figure, her blonde hair swept up in an elegant twist. She played the role of perfect hostess, moving through the crowd with practiced grace, champagne flute in hand. Marcus seemed on edge, his eyes constantly scanning the room. When Vanessa arrived in that striking red dress, Eliza watched him visibly tense, then deliberately look away. "She's beautiful," Eliza said, appearing suddenly at his side. Marcus startled. "Who?" "Vanessa. Your protégé." Eliza sipped her champagne. "You should say hello. It would be rude not to acknowledge her." "Liz," Marcus began, but she was already gliding away to greet new arrivals. Throughout the evening, Eliza kept a careful distance, watching. She saw the furtive glances between Marcus and Vanessa, the careful way they avoided speaking directly to each other. The moment when Vanessa slipped away up the stairs, presumably to use the guest bathroom, and how Marcus followed 5 minutes later. That was when Eliza excused herself from a conversation and made her way upstairs. She knew what she would find, but the reality of seeing them together, his hand on Vanessa's waist, their faces close in intimate conversation on the landing by the master bedroom, still felt like a physical blow. And then the champagne glass fell from her hand, shattering the perfect tableau of her perfect life. After her dramatic pronouncement on the stairs, Eliza maintained her composure through the remainder of the party. She smiled, made small talk, accepted congratulations on 15 years of marriage from people who had just witnessed the beginning of its end. Guests departed quickly, discomfort thick in the air despite Eliza's social grace. Marcus tried repeatedly to speak with her, but she managed to stay surrounded by others until the last guest had gone. When they were finally alone, the silence between them was deafening. "How long?" Eliza asked, methodically removing her diamond earrings at the kitchen island. Her voice was steady, devoid of the emotion that had threatened to overwhelm her earlier. Marcus stood across from her, tie loosened, looking suddenly older than his 42 years. "Eliza, it's not what you think. Don't insult my intelligence." She placed the earrings, his gift on their 10th anniversary, on the counter with a soft click. "How long?" He ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair. 6 months. "But it's not serious." Eliza's laugh cut him off. It was hollow, brittle. 6 months of lying to my face. 6 months of coming home to me after being with her. And it's not serious? "I made a mistake," Marcus said, stepping toward her. "A terrible mistake. It doesn't have to define us, Liz. We can get past this." "The bracelet you bought her says otherwise?" She met his shocked gaze. "Yes, I know about that too. To new beginnings." "Were you planning to leave me, Marcus? Or just keep us both?" "I don't know," he admitted, and his honesty was perhaps more painful than his lies had been. "I love you, Liz. I've always loved you. But with Vanessa, it's different. It's exciting, new, uncomplicated by 15 years of history." Eliza finished for him. "She doesn't know about your father's gambling debts that I helped pay off. She wasn't there when we couldn't make rent in that first apartment. She hasn't seen you fail," Marcus flinched. "That's not fair. None of this is fair." Eliza moved to the living room windows, staring out at the city lights. "I want you to leave, tonight. This is my house too," he protested. She turned back to him, eyes sharp. "A house I designed. A mortgage paid largely by my business. You want to throw away 15 years? Fine. But you don't get to keep everything we built while you find yourself with her? Where am I supposed to go?" "I'm sure Vanessa has room for you." Eliza's voice was ice. "Or perhaps a hotel. The Langham seems to be a favorite of yours lately." The color drained from his face. "You've been tracking me? I've been aware of your betrayal for longer than you realize, Marcus." "I just kept hoping." She shook her head. "It doesn't matter now. I want you gone by morning. My lawyer will contact you about the rest." Marcus stared at her for a long moment, as if seeing her clearly for the first time in months. "You've changed." "No," Eliza replied. "I've finally remembered who I was before I became your wife." Over the next 2 days, Eliza operated on autopilot. She contacted her lawyer. She methodically boxed up Marcus's essential belongings and had them delivered to the Langham, where she'd confirmed he'd checked in. She canceled joint credit cards and changed the security codes on the house. She informed their closest friends of the separation with brief factual messages. On the 3rd day, she allowed herself to break. The sobs that tore from her throat were primal, raw with 15 years of love and betrayal. She destroyed a set of crystal glasses, hurling them one by one against the fireplace. She tore his remaining clothes from the closet, shredding an expensive suit with kitchen scissors. Diana found her sitting amid the wreckage, eerily calm again. "Jesus, Liz," Diana whispered, surveying the destruction. "Are you okay?" "No," Eliza answered honestly. "But I will be. This is just processing." Diana helped her clean up, then poured them both generous glasses of wine. "Have you spoken to him?" "He's called, texted, emailed." Eliza stared into her glass. All variations on the same theme. He made a mistake. He wants to come home. He'll end it with her. And what do you want? The question hung between them. What did she want? To turn back time? To have never discovered the truth? To forgive him? I want him to understand what he's done, Eliza said finally. Not just to me, but to himself. To us. And then? Eliza shook her head. I don't know yet. A week after the party, Eliza received a text from an unknown number. I never meant for any of this to happen. He told me you were separated. By the time I realized the truth, I was already in too deep. I'm sorry. Vanessa Liza stared at the message for a long time. The other woman, the younger, exciting alternative who had captured Marcus's attention so completely that he'd risked everything they'd built. An idea began to form. Not born of revenge exactly, but of a need for closure, for understanding. For both herself and for Vanessa, we should talk. In person. Eliza. The response came quickly. Are you sure that's a good idea? No, but I think it's necessary. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., Roby's on Clark Street. Eliza Vanessa was already seated in the back corner of the upscale cafe when Eliza arrived. She looked younger in daylight, more vulnerable without the armor of her red dress. She stood awkwardly as Eliza approached. Thank you for coming, Eliza said, sliding into the chair opposite her. She studied the woman who had been sleeping with her husband. Dark hair cut in a sleek bob, intelligent eyes, hands that nervously twisted a napkin. I wasn't sure I should, Vanessa admitted, but I owe you this much. Eliza ordered tea for both of them, an oddly civilized gesture for such an uncivilized situation. How much did he tell you about me? Eliza asked once they were alone again. Vanessa looked surprised at the direct question. That you'd grown apart. That the marriage had been over emotionally for years, but you were staying together for appearances. Eliza laughed softly. Appearances. Yes, I suppose that fits with how he's always seen me. The perfect wife. The perfect hostess. The perfect facade. He said you were brilliant but cold, Vanessa continued, then looked mortified. I'm sorry, I shouldn't— No, please. I want to hear how he justified it. He said you were consumed with your business, that you didn't need him anymore. Vanessa stared into her tea. That you hadn't touched him in months. Each word was a fresh wound, but Eliza maintained her composure. And you believed him. I wanted to, Vanessa admitted. It made what we were doing seem less wrong. When did you realize he was lying? 3 weeks ago. I saw a text from you on his phone. Something about trying for a baby. Vanessa's voice grew soft. People don't plan families with spouses they're separated from. Eliza felt the air leave her lungs. While she had been planning their future, Marcus had been constructing elaborate lies to pursue another woman. What do you want from him? Eliza asked after a moment. Vanessa looked startled. I don't know anymore. At first I thought I loved him. Now I'm not sure I even know who he really is. That makes 2 of us. Eliza sipped her tea, thoughts crystallizing. He's been staying at the Langham this week. I know. He asked to stay with me. I said no. Vanessa met Eliza's eyes directly. I'm not the villain you probably think I am. No, Eliza said thoughtfully. I think you're just another woman he's lied to. A strange sort of understanding passed between them, a recognition of shared manipulation. He wants us both, Eliza continued. He wants the stability and history of our marriage, and the excitement and newness you represent. He thinks he can fix this, have it all back. What are you going to do? Vanessa asked. Eliza set down her cup with deliberate precision. I'm going to make him choose, publicly, definitively. And then I'm going to make sure he understands exactly what that choice means. How? I'm hosting a dinner. Tomorrow night at the house. You'll be there along with Marcus. A sort of reckoning. Vanessa looked uncertain. Why would I agree to that? Because you deserve answers as much as I do. Because you want to know who he really is when his back is against the wall. Eliza leaned forward. Don't you want to know which of us he'll choose when he can't have both? After a long moment, Vanessa nodded. What time should I arrive? Eliza spent the next day in careful preparation. She selected the menu with precision, Marcus's favorite dishes, prepared exactly as he liked them. She chose the wine, arranged fresh flowers, set the table with their finest china and crystal. She wore a simple black dress, elegant but understated, her hair loose around her shoulders the way Marcus had always preferred it. The house was immaculate, candles casting a warm glow throughout the main floor. Marcus arrived first, clearly surprised by her invitation. He stood awkwardly in the foyer, a bottle of wine in hand, a peace offering. "What's this about, Liz?" he asked cautiously. "Dinner?" she replied simply, taking the bottle. "We need to talk about how we move forward." Hope flickered across his face. "You're willing to try?" "Let's not get ahead of ourselves," she said, leading him to the dining room. "There's someone else joining us." "Who?" Marcus began, but the doorbell interrupted him. When Eliza returned with Vanessa, Marcus's face drained of color. "What is this?" he demanded, looking between them. "This is honesty, Marcus," Eliza said calmly. "Something that's been missing for too long." Vanessa stood uncomfortably by the doorway, wearing a simple blue dress. "He deserves to face both of us," she said quietly. "Please sit," Eliza gestured to the table. "I've prepared all your favorites, Marcus." Bewildered and trapped, Marcus took his usual seat at the head of the table. Vanessa and Eliza sat on either side of him. "This is insane," Marcus muttered as Eliza served the first course. "No, what's insane is believing you could maintain two separate relationships indefinitely," Eliza replied, pouring wine for all of them. "What's insane is thinking neither of us would figure it out. What's insane is expecting no consequences for your actions." "I've apologized," he snapped. "I've told you it was a mistake." "A 6-month mistake?" Vanessa interjected. "With jewelry and promises of a future together?" Marcus glared at her. "Don't pretend you're innocent in this." "No one here is innocent," Eliza said. "But only one of us was married. Only one of us made vows." The tension at the table was palpable as they ate in strained silence. Finally, Eliza set down her fork. "Here's what's going to happen," she said, with the calm authority that had built her successful business. "Tonight, you're going to make a choice, Marcus. Vanessa or me. No more juggling, no more lies." Marcus looked between them, panic evident in his eyes. "This isn't fair. You're putting me on the spot." "Life isn't fair," Vanessa said softly. "Ask your wife." "If you choose me," Eliza continued, "we enter counseling immediately. You cut all contact with Vanessa. You provide me complete transparency, phone, email, schedule, everything, for as long as it takes to rebuild trust. You work to earn back what you've thrown away, knowing it may never be the same." She turned to Vanessa. "And if he chooses you?" Vanessa met Marcus's gaze steadily. "If you choose me, you sign divorce papers immediately. You give Eliza a fair settlement without fighting. And you understand that I know exactly what you're capable of, which means I'll never fully trust you." Marcus pushed back from the table. "This is ridiculous. I'm not playing this game." "It's not a game," Eliza said evenly. "It's your life. The one you created with your choices. Now make another one." The silence stretched between them. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, the gesture so familiar to Eliza it made her heart ache despite everything. "I love you both," he said finally, "in different ways." "That's not a choice," Vanessa said, standing abruptly. "That's exactly what you've been doing for months." "She's right," Eliza agreed. "Choose, Marcus." He looked at Vanessa, beautiful and young, the excitement of new possibilities. Then at Eliza, the foundation of his adult life, the woman who knew all his secrets and had loved him anyway. "Eliza," he said finally, his voice breaking. "I choose you. I always have." The relief on his face was palpable. He clearly expected this decision to resolve everything, to return them to some version of their former life. Vanessa nodded once, gathering her purse. "I thought as much. She looked at Eliza. Good luck. Wait, Eliza said, stopping her. There's dessert. She disappeared into the kitchen, returning with a silver tray bearing 3 small plates. On each sat an envelope alongside a chocolate truffle. What's this? Marcus asked, eyeing the envelope with his name. Open it, Eliza instructed, passing the plates around. Vanessa opened hers first, reading quickly, her eyes widening. Marcus tore his open next, scanning the contents before looking up at Eliza in shock. Divorce papers? His voice rose in disbelief. But I just said— I heard what you said, Eliza interrupted calmly. You chose me because I'm safe, because I've always been your safety net, because 15 years is a significant investment you're not ready to lose. That's not true, Marcus protested. I love you. Perhaps you do in your way, Eliza acknowledged. But love without respect, without honesty, without fidelity, that's not enough for me anymore. Vanessa was still staring at her own envelope. This is a recommendation letter and a job offer from Harlow and Associates. Eliza nodded. They're looking for a senior financial analyst. The starting salary is 15% higher than what you're making now. Connor Harlow is an old client of mine. You start in 2 weeks if you want it. Why would you do this for me? Vanessa asked, bewildered. I'm not doing it for you, Eliza clarified. I'm doing it for me, for my peace of mind knowing neither of you will be in the same building anymore. She turned back to Marcus. You've already signed most of these during our marriage. The settlement is fair, more than fair according to my lawyer. You keep your retirement accounts. I keep the house and my business. Marcus stared at her, realization dawning. You planned this all along. The dinner, forcing me to choose. You never intended to take me back. I needed to know if you'd choose me for the right reasons, Eliza said. And you didn't. You chose what was familiar, what was least disruptive to your life. Not because you truly love me more. This is insane, Marcus repeated, standing now, his voice rising. You can't manipulate people like this. Like you manipulated both of us? Vanessa interjected. For months? The difference, Eliza said calmly, is that my manipulation ends tonight. With clarity for all of us, she placed her napkin neatly beside her plate and stood. I loved you, Marcus. Completely. I would have forgiven almost anything if you'd been honest from the beginning. If you'd come to me before it got this far, but you didn't respect me enough for that. Marcus's anger deflated, replaced by something closer to desperation. Liz, please, we can work through this. No, she said simply. We can't. I deserve better than what you're offering. So does Vanessa, for that matter. Vanessa stood as well, clutching the envelope. I should go. Take the job, Eliza told her. You're too talented to let him derail your career, too. After Vanessa left, Marcus and Eliza stood facing each other across the dining room they'd shared countless meals in over 15 years. So that's it? He asked, voice hollow. 15 years, just over? You ended it 6 months ago, Marcus. You just didn't have the courage to tell me. Eliza gestured to the papers. Sign them now or later. Either way, we're done. And if I contest, the divorce? Fight for the house? The business? Eliza smiled sadly. Then you'll reveal yourself completely. And I've documented everything. The hotel charges, the bracelet, the text messages I managed to recover. Do you really want all of that in public record? Defeated, Marcus sank back into his chair. I never meant to hurt you. I know, Eliza said, and she meant it. You just wanted everything on your terms. But life doesn't work that way. Marcus signed the papers before he left, his hand trembling slightly. At the door, he turned back. I made the biggest mistake of my life, he said quietly. Yes, Eliza agreed. You did, but it was yours to make. After he was gone, Eliza moved through the quiet house, extinguishing candles, clearing plates. In the kitchen, she washed each dish by hand, feeling the warm water, the familiar motions grounding her. She thought about the look on Marcus's face when he realized what she'd done. On Vanessa's, when she understood Eliza wasn't the villain in their story either. The house felt different now. Emptier, yes, but also unburdened by lies. By the time she climbed the stairs to her bedroom, a strange sense of peace had settled over her. She changed out of her black dress and removed her makeup, studying her reflection in the bathroom mirror. "Hello again," she whispered to herself. Her phone buzzed with a text from Diana. How did it go? Eliza considered how to respond. How to encapsulate. The end of 15 years. The beginning of whatever came next. It went exactly as planned, she typed back. They both got a night they'll never forget. And so did I. She slipped between the sheets of the bed that now belonged only to her. Tomorrow, she would begin the process of redesigning this room, erasing the last traces of their shared life. Tonight, she would sleep soundly for the first time in months, no longer wondering where her husband was, who he was with, what lies he was telling. The tears would come again, she knew. The grief for what they'd had and what might have been. But tonight, there was only the quiet satisfaction of having finally stood up for herself, of having faced the truth and survived it, of having reminded herself and everyone else that she was not just Marcus Blackwood's wife. She was Eliza, whole and complete on her own. And that was enough.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.